welcome back to episode 21 of the Real Life Podcast. Just to prove that people do actually like me, I've got multiple people with me today. Shall we do the thing where we pretend that we haven't spoken until now? Despite the fact that we've been sat on the sofa for about an hour.
Yeah, how have you been?
Oh my god! Whoa, what are you two doing here?
Kidding.
It's Roddy, Cummins and Gerrard. They are here with me. I've got this is the perfect episode for Roddy because this is a music episode and you are a music man.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is talk about our favourite film scores. Now, I'd also like to point out, just while at the start, it's been sort of very well noted to me that there has only been one woman on this podcast so far. That was my sister, and I can wholeheartedly assure you that this is simply because I'm sexist, and not because no women wanted to talk to me. So, I think this is the most difficult episode I've ever had to plan for, and I genuinely mean that.
Yeah.
Because whittling this down to a list of 5 is actually quite tough. I'm happy with what I've chosen, but it was difficult.
All 5 of them.
All 5 of them. Yeah. I've mentioned this to these two already. My list of honourable mentions is excessive. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've actually got 2 sections for my honourable mentions, which I know that you two won't have. So section 1 are the ones that I love, and section 2 are the ones that I love so much they nearly made the top 5.
Okay, right.
So
it's a tier list here,
basically a tier list, yeah. But I wanted to include them all just so people know that I like them, and then I'm just going to sort of mention them, and then we'll move on.
All right.
I think, personally, I don't know how you feel, I'm maybe susceptible to heavy criticism today, particularly with my honourable mentions list.
As in you'll cry if we criticise you? Or...
Oh, I see. No, it's a good point, actually. I don't know if I'll take it to heart. What I kind of mean is that, like, it's quite possible that people could just look at my shit and be like, what a basic list.
I'm definitely going to be a victim.
Are you worrying about that? Right, because
so, yeah.
Hans Zimmer pops up a bit.
Okay, well, yeah.
And he was 5th on my Spotify Wrapped, which I think is quite funny. But he does make some banging tunes. So I apologise, but he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they may seem like straight down the line choices, but I don't care because I love what I love, and all the obscure shite that you're going to bring up is probably excellent as well. So I will let the guests begin with their honourable mentions first. Roddy, you're going to begin.
So should I say all of them? All my honourable mentions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've got 3 categories.
Okay.
So my first category is sort of my least favourite honourable mention, and that's Boss Baby by Hans Zimmer. But we can sort of move straight past that.
Sorry, was that a category of music you don't like, or music you do like?
It's my least favourite of the honourable mentions.
But you like it enough to make it an honourable mention?
Yeah. So my other 2 categories are... one is Lion King.
Okay.
The one in that category is Lion King 1.5.
Lion King 1.5.
Yeah. Which has the exclusive song Dig a Tunnel.
Right.
Performed by whoever acts Timon, which is a great song. And I just think Lion King 1.5 stands above the other Lion King films in terms of its musical prowess.
Right.
The other is one song from a Goofy movie. Now this is why it's an honourable mention, because I only like one song from the film.
You know, introducing you as the music guy and then being like, I've got a song from the Goofy music.
Everyone at home, if you just pause this. Wait, after I've said this, pause the podcast.
Yeah, don't pause it before he said what he said, because you're never going to know.
If you pause the podcast and listen to this song straight away, it is Eye to Eye and it's from a Goofy movie.
Okay.
And I think it is one of the best Disney songs ever made in a film.
Right.
But there's only one good song in the movie, so
that's why.
Yeah, right. But it's a phenomenal song.
It's worth saying, I'm glad these are your honourable mentions, because we did just mention before, this is based on scores, not soundtracks, primarily. So the idea, the big difference being, Into the Spider-Verse, for example, you've got the soundtrack, which is like, you know, What's Up Danger, Elevate, Home, all those tracks that are great. And then you've got the actual score by Daniel Pemberton, which is a bit more sort of film-centric. Yeah. So those are the differences. And you have one more honourable mention?
No. That's all 3 of them.
So your honourable mentions, let me just get this straight.
Yes.
Was Boss Baby.
By Hans Zimmer.
A Goofy song.
Eye to Eye from a Goofy movie.
And Lion King 1.5.
Yes.
Good. Well, that set the tone. Nice. Will, do you wanna try and, I don't know, maybe bring this back round?
I'll go for mine.
Good.
There was one I was debating whether or not to put this in, because obviously a lot of it is just a soundtrack.
Yeah.
but I wanted to mention School of Rock. Because of obviously it's a musical now, but I'm thinking of the film, the original with Jack Black, which I love a lot. It put me onto a lot of rock music, and I like the originals that are written for it. But again, that's more of a soundtrack. Yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, good.
My other one is we've all heard it. It's Kung Fu Panda, Hans Zimmer and John Powell. Particular favourite being Uruguay Ascends.
Yeah. I loved it so much that I learned to play it on the piano. That's
It's beautiful, but it's also I do think he deserves some credit for being able to, incorporate elements of traditional Chinese music and put it into a dramatic film score. Suitable for Hollywood. So yeah. Those are
your honourable mentions, right? Yeah. Lovely and succinct honourable mentions from the pair of you there. On to mine. Let's start with section 1, which is the films that are like, I love these scores, but they weren't going to be in my top 5. So start with Mr. Zimmer. In section 1, I've got The Last Samurai, Interstellar, and Dune.
Wow. Okay.
Now, all of these are inarguably good, right? Without question. The Last Samurai in particular for me is quite strong. It fits the sort of passive remorseful mood. Interstellar works based on basically 2 notes and then proceeds to sort of expand from there, which I think is great. Interstellar bothers me as a film, but the score is sort of one of its undeniably good points to it. And Dune, I don't personally like that much, but I know that's a me thing, and I think the fact that its ingenuity has to be applauded. Working to make new instruments, which is however many of them, like 40 or whatever, is astonishing. That's an incredible piece of work. So I want to put that in there because it's an achievement above anything else, just regardless of what I think of it. Christopher Willis with The Personal History of David Copperfield. It's a really sweet film, and it's basically sort of case study for the versatility of strings and how they don't always need to be used in the Hans Zimmer way, which is just sort of like and can actually be sort of, they can do a million things. And even if they're on their own, they can be beautiful when arranged properly. There's a track on that called The Life Well Written, which is just a beautiful melodic piece. Michael Giacchino for The Batman. It's great Batman music with the theme that I thought would get grating a bit because it sounds like it wants to go dun 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 dun. And I'm like, but then I didn't care, and I just thought it fit. I thought the film didn't get nearly enough love, to be honest, because I thought it was excellent. Hilda Gudnadottir for Joker. It's an obvious choice, but it's haunting. It was deservedly Oscar winning. It influenced the filmmaking as well. That's what I like about it. So the bathroom dance scene is famously, they played the music on the set so that Joaquin was
just listening to it
exactly and then produced that. So technically another Hans Zimmer one, but it's with James Newton Howard, the Dark Knight trilogy. It's superhero music at its best. It's never been better than that, and now every single film tries to rip it off basically, and it can't. It's written exactly how it needs to be in the best version of what it could be, and I wish I could hear it all for the first time again. Last 2 on section 1. Technically it's 4, but shut up. Alejandro Desplat for Imitation Game and both the Deathly Hallows films. So Imitation Game I just like a lot. It's not groundbreaking or new, but I like it. And as for Deathly Hallows, I think I'm going to put something out here. I think part 1 of the Deathly Hallows might be the best made standalone film, regardless of the outside series. I think part 1 as a film, you could watch it on its own and go, that was really cleverly made.
For what it is.
And I think the music has a massive part to play in the final parts of the series, particularly stuff like Lily's theme. And I think it's Statues where McGonagall starts to defend the castle. I mean, they're great bits of music.
I'm not going to sing it, but...
No, we could.
They stay with you.
They really do, and they remind you of when everyone was sort of still in the hype of Harry Potter and going to the cinema to see it, which is great. And finally, this is from section 1, John Powell, How to Train Your Dragon.
Underrated.
Cruelly underrated, but TikTok ruined this by being its traditional fuck with itself, right? Because people just put this over a shit drawing of a bird before a shit transition into a video of a bird that looks nothing like the bird that they just fucking drew. But and so it's like, well, okay, I don't have TikTok, but every time I see a reel from TikTok on Instagram or something, it's like, I'm putting on a new shoe and I've drawn something on it. Cue John Powell. And no, I can't be doing with it. It's well composed, it's well judged, and it's right for the film. You were going to say?
Just shout out to John Powell, one that I've just remembered should have been in my honourable mentions. Ice Age 2.
Oh,
John Powell.
bang it. Which is a great film, by the way. I won't have a word said against it.
absolutely.
I really love it.
He's going to appreciate the shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's listening. John Powell definitely listens to the Real Life podcast. Okay, section 2. So these are the ones... I'm where I'm going on for a while here, but it's my podcast. So these are the ones that nearly made it into the top 5, but didn't in the end.
Right.
So it's weird that I talked about Dayplow with Deathly Hallows. I actually think the best Harry Potter music is Patrick Doyle, Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Purely because it sort of just decided to do its own thing. It took itself away from all the plinky stuff that had come before it, and it's the versatility of strings. Jarvis Cocker is on the album with all the songs from the Yule Ball rock concert that happens. But, you know, the death of Cedric and then the opening music as well is stuff that really sort of stay with me. They're mood setters as well, and it's a changing world in that film because it goes from plinky plonky bad child actors to child murder in a second, and it's kind of like shit's changed, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. This is inches away from being in the top 5, but it's not. Ludwig Göransson, Oppenheimer.
Okay.
I want it to win all the awards. I mean, there's only one Oscar it can win because score, but still, I just want it to. Can you hear the music? Again, has been memed to shit, but it is fundamentally just an excellent piece of music. Like, imagine transcribing that. Imagine writing that down on sheet music. I can't fathom how he was able to do that. Like, again, so TikTok spaffed it into oblivion, but it sounds like an accelerating train. It sounds like something constantly coming towards you. And again, it's that sort of Nolan-y, Hans Zimmer-y thing of taking a score with essentially a couple of notes. So the Oppenheimer theme, you know, the famous na 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 na, and then working it into a million different spaces and stuff. It's big and it's brassy, and it was inches away from being at the top 5. But just to avoid predictability, because I know that everyone's going to think that Oppenheimer's my favourite film of the year, and it is. I haven't done that, but yeah, I think Ludwig's probably my favourite composer working today, just because of the way the scene is.
More so than Hans Zimmer.
Yeah. I'm firmly of the opinion that the best thing Hans Zimmer could do at this very moment in time is something like The Holiday again, like a light romantic comedy, just to sort of settle himself a bit, and also most of his music would fit that anyway. Let's be honest. I thought you might appreciate this one, Roddy. I don't know if you've seen it or heard it, but if you haven't, you should. Blank Mass, Calm with Horses. No. It's understated electronic brilliance. There's loads of music that builds up, making you think there's going to be a massive drop on its way. And if it was TikTok, then it would be. But it's not, because Blank Mass are far better than that. So they just leave it really wispy and melancholic, and it's really sort of passive, but in a sort of forceful way, until it isn't. Until on a track called Divas, the beat fucking drops. Yeah. And it's like, oh, shit, I've been waiting for this. The only reason it's not in my top 5 is because I think there's a film that manages to use a sort of atmospheric background synths better than it, which is in my top 5. So that's why this isn't there. Will's getting excited because I think he knows what it is.
I might.
You sort of do, and you sort of don't. Okay. And you'll be interested to see that. Okay. So from Calm with Horses, I've got the Divas Leaving and Different Breed are all the. Actually, I think it's Different Breed with a beat drop. Sorry, but they're all the standout tracks. Nicholas Britell, If Beale Street Could Talk. Barry Jenkins says this only works in the context of the film. I don't agree with him at all. It's a haunting, beautiful thing which fits the film, and a prevailing mood. It's strong and it's brilliant for so many reasons. Listen to Harlem, because that's the track that, again, just uses some strings to tell this kind of sad story. It's a sad film, and the music could be sort of tacky, but it isn't. It's great. Here we go. Daniel Pemberton, Into the Spider-Verse. The main reason this isn't in the top 5, despite being genius, is because I don't think it would exist without one of the choices in my top 5 itself. But it's undeniably wicked. So aside from possibly the best soundtrack a film has ever had in terms of the songs, the score itself is sort of eclectic and bips and clicks, and it's unpredictable, and it's threatening, and it's invigorating, and it's another sort of technical achievement above anything else. I love the Spider-Verse films. I think the second one may have even been better than the first one.
I don't know about that.
You're not?
We're not
here to talk about that, but we can, and maybe we will. I just think they're titanically good, and the score always reinforces the mood of what's going on. Water being poured here. There's musical cues at the right time, and it's sort of like reinforcements of on-screen stuff, and I love it. Last 2, and then I'll let you talk about your actual top 5, and I'll shut the f*** up for a bit. Hans Zimmer, Inception. It's my favourite film, so go figure, you know. It's operatic, and it's perfect, and every time we get to the airport at the end, my heart swells up in this I don't feel anything like the airport scene at the end, and I have a huge phobia, and this is so weird, of not being able to be somewhere when I want to escape and get out to it.
Right.
So, and the idea of being so close to freedom and being detained in that airport at the final step and having the plan not worked and that guy at security not letting him through, or there being something that gets in the way between between baggage reclaim and getting to Michael Caine and getting out the door. Like the idea of there being something between those things that stops him from getting home to his kids really sort of panics me. And yet the music is sort of hopeful and optimistic, and then operatic in the same way. It kind of just sort of drives you through and gets you excited to get out of this space and get home, and I love that. It's beautiful music, and then the kids turn around at the end and it's all happy, and I don't care if it's real or not, because I've got what I want out of it. And the last one is Harry Gregson Williams' Narnia, Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Wow.
The score for the battle is elite, and we all know it is. It's proof that Zimmer's team, quite often what Hans Zimmer does is he has a team of people. So the Gregson Williams brothers and some others like John Powell and James Newton Howard have often worked for Hans Zimmer and sometimes get the projects that he sides off. So for example, Klaus Badelt for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
He wrote the score for the first one and created He's a Pirate, which is obviously iconic.
Yeah. Yep.
And then everyone thinks that the score is Hans Zimmer. But that's because in the later films, from the second one onwards, it is Hans Zimmer, because he saw that went really well. Because Klaus Badelt, he went, here's one of my themes from Gladiator, do something with that, and then Hans Zimmer was like, oh shit, that was really good. I think I'll take it from here. Yeah, thank you very much. And took over, and then they weren't as good. But again, so the Narnia is battle music at its best, and there's also little sort of trinkly bits in between that, which are all great, and I love it. And I think it's a bit of a sort of like, you know, when everyone says the boys think of Roman Empire, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I think the Narnia score is kind of that. It's basic. I think it pretty much is, to be honest. So yeah, those are the ones that nearly made it into my top 5, but it's not my top 5. So here's what we're gonna do. Roddy, you're gonna say your number 5. Yes. We're gonna say yours, and then I'm gonna say mine, and we're gonna go around. And if there's overlap, if someone says something that we know we have coming up, we'll just say, don't talk about it yet. And then when everyone said it, that's when we'll talk about it. Okay? So, Roddy, number 5 on your list. What do we have?
So I'm still slightly confused about the definition of soundtrack and score. So I've got, if I'm wrong on this, then I've got one to take its place. Okay?
All right.
So this is the Hercules soundtrack. But is that a score? Because they're all original songs.
It kind of is. That's the thing with Disney is the scores are the soundtracks. It's not like they're separate entities. I think we can probably allow it because the songs are written to be in the film, and all of the songs in their entirety are in the film.
And they're also narratorial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll give you that. We'll give you Hercules.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I just think so. I remember when I first got into wanting to sort of dip my toes into orchestration, I studied the sheet music of Hercules, especially Go the Distance, which is probably the song that everyone thinks of when they think of the Hercules score. And I just think it's such an amazing, uplifting, sometimes terrifying, sometimes really dark, sometimes upbeat. Like, it's got everything in it. But I think Go the Distance is definitely the good track. And I think that, for me, at least in my journey through studying orchestration and trying to learn how to orchestrate myself, and Alan Menken in general, I think is an amazing composer, but I think that is probably his best piece of work, the Hercules soundtrack. Just absolutely,
I would agree,
outstanding. Probably, my opinion, I think it's probably the best music from any Disney film ever.
I wouldn't dispute that at all.
Yeah.
It's undeniably fantastic. I mean, the guy's got 7 Oscars. I think he knows what he's doing. You know. So.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Sweet. Will, number 5.
I mean, I've run into a bit of an issue.
Right, have I mentioned it already? That's fine. No, because you've actually. Well, anyway, number 5.
I'll go my number 5. It is Interstellar.
Right. Okay.
Okay, but I do want to talk about 2 particular ones.
Go ahead.
Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. That's it's one that closes out the soundtrack as the album on Spotify. But I love the fact that you've got John Lithgow featured. John Lithgow, who is it? Casey Affleck and Ellen Burstyn. That's it, of course, yeah. And I love that poem. first of all.
Yeah.
If it's perfectly
Beautiful.
off the film, and to be able, it's difficult to speak a poem over something orchestral,
Yeah.
but it's done perfectly and it's done balanced. And then of course the other is, I think, Dreaming of the Crash is the one that everyone thinks of
Yeah.
when they think of Interstellar. It's beautiful to listen to. And
Is it?
I would say.
Or is it not cornfields? I would argue that the cornfields and the... Are they cornfields and the organ variation? Are they the same thing?
They're variations of the same
Right,
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Dreaming of the Crash and Cornfields. But I think you're right, because both have the motif that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Dun,
So,
dun.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the incredible piano. I aim to one day be able to play that on piano. But,
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Good aim.
But yeah, so that's my number 5, and that's why I think with a film where the scope of it's kind of like its themes are so broad and so kind of abstract, to have a score that encapsulates that brilliantly and kind of brings it down to earth a bit is quite a feat.
I mean, yeah, that is one of the best things about Interstellar, is it is essentially a film about memory and timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about space, except it's playing with much bigger themes of father-daughter and family and all that kind of stuff. So to have a score that is sort of ethereal and then also emotional is exactly the right kind of mood to set for that. It's one of the reasons why I really like... I forgot to put it in my honourable mentions. One of the reasons why I really like the score for Sunshine, the Danny Boyle film, which is by... Who is it? Anyway,
Doesn't even know stuff.
I know, man. What an amateur. It's ethereal, but it's sort of really strangely optimistic in a film where you are not made to feel optimistic in the slightest. Like everything goes wrong, but it gives you a sort of John Murphy in Underworld. There we go, and it gives you a sense of the kind of the scope you're dealing with when you're in space. Like the difference between dying and living is the thickness of your spacesuit and all that kind of stuff. And so in a score that just decides to go, you know, up and down scales and using an organ which is a really full sound to give you this sort of scope of massive scale.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it, I think. So I'm not going to quibble with the Interstellar score at all. I do love it. It is great.
Definitely.
At number 5, and this may feel like a rogue one to the pair of you, A.R. Rahman, Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay.
The setting for the film is in the noise of its score. Right. So this to me is film music at its peak, like music for a film at its best. I mentioned before the Oppenheimer music by Ludwig Göransson sounding like a train or something accelerating. But this actually does sound like a train. There's a song called Osaya, which is a mental piece of music, but it captures the madness of the Indian Railway, which is such a huge part of the film itself. And it's threatening, but with sort of ecstatic accuracy. It deserves so much love. All of the tracks are properly kind of Indian and embed you into the music. Now, I'd like a word, please.
Okay, cool.
Maybe this comes from being part Indian myself, but I will not have this imperialist conquest by the Pussycat Dolls of J-Ho. Right. I just can't stand it. Right. Whenever people put it on, and I'm like, is it going to be the original? No, it isn't. No. It's not. It makes me want to hurt myself. The original Indian version is so much better than that.
Yeah.
You know, give me what A.R. Rahman wrote over Nicole Scherzinger any day of the week, realistically. And there's a game that you can play, a drinking game. I don't know if you've played this, called J-Ho.
Every time they say it.
Every time they say it, you switch to the next person in the circle.
Oh, I see.
However, there are times when there are quite big gaps between one J-Ho and the next J-Ho.
Yeah.
So if it lands on you in that time, bye-bye.
Yeah.
You are finished. Anyway, so the film may have a couple of issues with it, in that it doesn't quite translate the book as well as it maybe could, but the score's not one of them. And it's pulsating and it's exciting and it's modern electronic threatening twist on Indian music, which I love. And I love when Danny Boyle gets it right, because when he gets it right, it's so right.
Yeah.
And I think he nails the positioning of the score in this film perfectly. When it happens, the mixing of it, the mood of it, the repetition of certain bits of it, it's relentlessly exciting. And I just think it gets every single note of it right. If you listen to, as I say, the proper full original version of the album, I think is on YouTube. It deserves your time. Justice for Dev Patel.
Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely.
4, Roddy?
So speaking of electronic music, number 4 for me is the score to It Follows by Disaster Piece.
Yeah, great. I think you mentioned this on our last episode.
Yeah, cool back. Obviously, Disaster Piece did the album Monsters Ain't My Birthday Cake, as we know. And I just think, so I was listening to this, I was listening to all of my correct choices in the library. And I just to like kind of remind myself and like sort of freshen up on it. And I was listening to this, and I just listening to it, like without even thinking of the film, it scared me. Like it's such a scary soundtrack on its own.
Unnerving film as well.
It is. And then on top of that, I was sitting at my computer writing my essay, listening to this, and I see an old bloke just standing there in my university library. He's just standing there, and I get really I don't realize at first he's just waiting for the lift. And so he's just standing there, stock still, like staring at vaguely my direction.
Is he not staring at the lift?
No.
Who gets into a lift sideways?
This bloke. Well, yeah, all the more reason for me to be scared. So, but yeah, no, this the soundtrack's absolutely amazing. I mean, as I said, it's terrifying. It's really, really crisply mixed as well. It's in your face at the same time as really easily being able to pull back and allow for some, less in your face tense moments, because that's the film's not always at 100, but it obviously really ramps up, such as there's a really cool bit in the score when, and it's the scene that everyone knows from It Follows, when the really tall bloke walks through the door. The soundtrack just like ramps up there, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, and it's this use of like distorted strings sort of smashed into electronic synths until you can't even tell the difference between the two, and it's just such a terrifyingly well made score, in my opinion, that I think they couldn't have done a better job for a horror soundtrack.
It's a great shout. No, and again, as you say, for a horror film, I think that is absolutely the sort of the perfect thing, because it was so, as we mentioned, my favourite horror film is Us, and some of the stuff in that is like the reworking of Police and stuff like that, whereas if that's one kind of thing, but to just sort of, I don't know, to come up with that kind of thing without, with a concept in mind rather than a reworking of anything else, I think is really, really impressive. And like that tall man scene, that's the last time that I was watching a horror film, and it stuck with me. Like it genuinely, it's like a little voice, and you're like, do you remember that bit?
Yeah.
And I've never looked down a long corridor in the same way.
No.
And the music's a huge part of that.
Yeah, and I think it's also just like a last pointer. It's like, so many horror films focus on strings, obviously. It's a massive part, strings, stings, and everything like that to up the tension.
Ring stings?
Ring stings. And, but to go completely electronic, basically, for the entire score, I think is going a completely new direction in horror, horror scores. And
did they try that in The Invisible Man?
Haven't seen it.
Because I think they did. I think a lot of, because the premise of The Invisible Man is that he has this very sort of technical suit which lets him go invisible.
I see.
It's okay. We've got cake. Pause the recording. Hey! We've got cake. Come in. Hello, Mum.
Thank you.
You made a cake.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know you were going to make a cake.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's very kind. Thank you, Mum.
Oh wow.
Wow. What the hell? Oh wow. Wow.
That's the best interruption to a podcast I've ever had in my life. A massive cake has just appeared in front of us.
Brilliant.
Well, what are we talking about? Oh, The Invisible Man. Yeah, his suit is very... I've got no idea. I'm going to edit that.
Have you paused it?
No. I ran the whole thing as we were excited for cake. Because the suit's very technical, the music then tries to be sort of electronic and technical itself, and it doesn't work. I really don't like The Invisible Man. I think it's a really bad film, but to do it and then get it right is quite an achievement. So I'm very much in agreement with you there. Will, number 4.
We're in keeping with the electronic music style. You have mentioned it already. Is Into the Spider-Verse, Daniel Pemberton, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's I love it. So we talked about the Prowler theme.
Yeah.
Specifically, and how that bleeds into the actual the soundtrack for it.
That was a cow.
And Miles Morales Returns is also a highlight for me on
Yeah.
that soundtrack.
Yeah.
That moment when he becomes who he is, fulfilling his own potential and his own kind of idea of himself. I love that so much. It's difficult because the aesthetics of those two films, are so distinct, so unique, and so beautiful in their own way. They could so easily be, the soundtrack could so easily be jarring to that.
Yeah.
So it has to be able to match.
Yeah.
In a way, and I think that's just seems impossible. To me.
When you've got, to start with, so directing, you've got a 5-headed monster anyway for the first one, and then all the hundreds of animators that are on it.
Yeah.
You're right to then say one person, you go away and do the score,
Yeah.
and then to come up with that and marry it together is unbelievable.
And just to be able to record all of that, compose it, record it, make sure it's in line with this fast-paced, this incredibly visually stimulating thing. If you had such a visually stimulating thing, and then a dead soundtrack, that would kill it all for the senses. So for him to be able to do that is, that's why top 4, I would say.
I'm in total agreement with you. I don't think we're going to be able to talk about my next one for a bit, but this is the one that I said, this had to be in here,
Right.
and this is why Into the Spider-Verse wasn't.
Okay.
So my number 4, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Social Network.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about it now, are we?
We won't do that for now.
We'll wait. Okay. All right, we'll wait. Roddy, number 3.
All right. Number 3 is The Revenant by Ryuichi Sakamoto.
Oh, yes, mate.
So again, still sort of electronic key at parts, but obviously it's really string heavy. I think the standout song for me is the final fight song, which is just like a couple drums and like maybe one violin, but it works so well. Like it was sort of that. It was doing that whole battle scene in one shot before it was cool. Sort of thing. Is that final Revenant fight scene against the Native Americans, and it's just such an amazing score. There is a criticism, and you raised it with another film before, that the score doesn't work that well by itself. I was sitting again in the library, wasn't as scared this time. But
I thought you were about to say, and next to the lift, a giant bear.
It just started mauling me. No, but it was still really beautiful, but I didn't really get the sense of much of a story from it. I think it definitely has to be married with the visuals and the story for it to work as well as it does. But I think in the context of the film, and that's where I'm putting it. I think it's absolutely flawless. And what's even more amazing, and it's actually a shame it didn't win awards. You know why it didn't win awards?
I'm not sure I do, no.
So I think it would have won an award, but Ryuichi Sakamoto was diagnosed with cancer whilst he was like composing it, and so he had to bring someone else in to help him. Obviously that knocks you out of contention for the award, but I think otherwise it would have been up for best soundtrack, because it is absolutely phenomenal. And it's haunting, but it's also atmospheric, and it really sets the tone for this.
It really does.
This bloke stumbling about in the woods all by himself, running away from a terrifying creature.
Funnily enough, is the premise of a really crap short film that I'm currently making.
What?
I've got one day left of shooting.
In the woods, is it the one?
It's just in the woods up there. I'm making it now. It's just me. Yeah, it's just me. Basically running through the woods through various different random bits of shit that come at me. It's nothing like as good as The Revenant, but it does borrow from the tree pornography that Alejandro Inarritu really loves. So there's a couple of inspired. There are a couple of Inarritu-inspired shots in there. But what I would say about the score. Is you're right, I think on its own it maybe doesn't work, but what I think is very interesting is then when you marry it with the film, it becomes better than the film. So like The Revenant could be 40 minutes shorter easily, definitely, if it didn't have tree porn in it all the time, but it does. And a lot of the thing that is able to get you through it is the music. I felt the same about The Northman.
Yes, definitely.
The Northman at times was brilliant, but a lot of the time was overindulgent and unnecessary. And some of the bits that got me through it were the violins on the soundtrack, because they were just so pleasing to listen to. They did sound a bit like Viva Victoria, but just sort of like slow down. But they were fun, and that's exactly how I feel The Revenant. Like a score that can help me enjoy the film more than I would have done without it. That's the point of the score. So yeah, I love it.
Yep. That's that.
Very good. Well, number 3.
All right, I'm not going to bring up another one that you've already said.
But did you want to?
No. Well, I mean, you've already spoken about the bit that I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
It was
okay.
Inception.
Oh, right.
Time.
Yeah, time. Yeah.
The final bit in the airport, and I was like,
Yeah.
there's nothing more I can really say about that. So it's calm.
Presumably you don't have that same weird phobia, though. Presumably you're quite content with getting off a plane and going, right, that's my bag and I'll leave now. Whereas I'm like,
No, I can't say I've ever heard like that. But I've just had a massive brainwave, right? And I've remembered one.
Got brain freeze? No, I've got brain wave. Drive.
There we go. This is obviously, it's half soundtrack, half score. But I'm not going to talk about the soundtrack bit.
Okay.
La La Land, Justin Hurwitz.
Yeah.
I felt like I feel like I have to mention it.
The most consistent part of Damien Chazelle's films is Justin Hurwitz being excellent.
Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, highlight is me and Sebastian's theme. It's Ryan Gosling on the piano, I believe. And it's phenomenally written. And I've listened to that many times on repeat, just by myself, looping it. And it's beautiful. The soundtrack, the bits that are sung, I think are done very well. It could have, with a film that was so hyped, so rated so highly.
Yeah.
I expected it, going into the film, I'd be underwhelmed by the music, possibly underwhelmed by the whole thing, but I really wasn't. And I think the theme, the music was such an integral part of that. Music is, for me, that is the plot. It's just them pursuing music, maintaining their love for that. So that was you can't have bad music in a film like that at all. Yeah. And to do it justice to such a prominent theme, and he actually did. So
I agree. I completely agree. I really like La La Land. I think it's a really great film.
It's just, I could sit and listen to it for hours.
That's what I mean with the Justin Hurwitz thing, is so Babylon and on, which I hate as a film. I detest it. I think it's garbage. But Voodoo Mama as a song by Justin Hurwitz is unbelievable. And the thing is, a lot of the time, the music in Babylon goes, and you're supposed to be like, oh, things are happening. Whereas that's actually a great song. And whereas in La La Land, how can you go from being tasked with just making a film about excess in Babylon, and then actually your earlier work is some really, really well thought out, stripped back stuff from La La Land. Yeah.
Well, obviously the showstopper moments in La La Land, these immense scenes, hundreds of people, they're great. But I prefer the muted stuff. One person at a piano, maybe them humming and singing over it.
Yeah.
That's the bit that I go back to.
I think that's a great choice. And I know. I will know because of that if people who say they listen to my podcast actually listen to my podcast, because they'll come up to me and be like, oh, he said La La Land. And if they don't, I know who you are. So my number 3, Will, you've already mentioned, and you almost said it as a joke, but you're just, I can't believe you even would take even remotely close to that tone.
I mean, it's not a joke. If I know what it is, then is it Kung Fu Panda?
Number 3 is Hans Zimmer and John Powell for Kung Fu Panda.
That was not remotely a joke.
Good.
I love it.
Fight me. I know it's I listen to it all the time, right? I know it's a bit of a meme. I know the film is basically...
That was what I thought. Maybe it's a bit of a meme.
Yeah.
Now.
I know the film is basically just Kill Bill with animals, right? Which is a shame, because I don't like Kill Bill. However, I love the film. These two had absolutely no right in going as hard as they did with this. Like that is disgraceful what they've done. Pool of Sacred Tears is a piece of genius writing. And you want to talk about movements in a score? That has some of the most brilliant movement switches I've ever heard in film music. As you mentioned, proper Chinese instruments. Brilliantly varying moods, instrumentation, pacing, timbre, all of it's extraordinary. You could put any of this music over the top of any quote-unquote serious film, and it would fit like a glove. Listen to the score and tell me you don't want to do backflips and fly up a mountain, right? Because you just do, right? Yeah. I don't quite know why, but the pair of them must have just decided to have the time of their fucking lives while they were making this, and they just did. It's so fun, right? Yeah. And I might add, thank God that scores like this get recorded using real instruments. Because, you know, it amplifies it to no end the way that you can put all these instruments together in one place, because, you know, they're real things, rather than just sort of mixing them together on a you know, from a MIDI or a synth on something already. The inclusion of those instruments from the China is really necessary. And it's a huge part of the reason why I love the film as much as I do, and it's stuck with me since I was a kid. It's not like I revisited this film and went, "Oh my god, the score's amazing." I've always remembered the music for Kung Fu Panda, right?
When Oogway ascends.
When Oogway ascends.
First seeing that, I remember when
I'm welling up, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And the music is perfect for that. Like, it really is. And this is what I mean. So the way that Zimmer normally works is he will find a little trill or a melody, and then weave it into so many iterations in and out of the score, right? And that's kind of it. I think the choices made on this particular occasion are just beautiful. Sometimes that's what you have to concede, right? Is that I like the sound of it. Like, I like the melody. I like the way the music sounds. Right. And that's just kind of it with this. It's not like, outside of all the technical elements, which are great in terms of all the instrumentation and the movements and how different the score can be and how moving it can be, I just think it sounds really, really pleasing. And it stands out to me, which is mad for just a DreamWorks animated film, for this to be one of the scores that has, shaped the way that I like to listen to film music, is nuts. But I don't care, because I'm a big fan, and I thank you for giving it an honourable mention, because I was sat there going straight face, but I'm about to blow this shit up. So yeah, that's my number 3. We're on to we're flying through. Roddy, your number 2 favourite score.
So I'm going to keep it on the sort of animated film trend. And actually my next 2 films, this is unique to them. I don't know many other films that do it, but they've got a sort of longer version by the composer in which they show all of their ideas that they had for the original score, but not all of them made it in. So the number 2 is the score to Princess Mononoke by Joe Hisayashi, or I don't know how to pronounce the name, from Studio Ghibli, which is, first of all, I think one of their best films, and second of all, I think this is Joe's, it's weird calling him Joe, but one of Joe's best works. It's absolutely phenomenal, and for so many of the reasons that you just said as well. I mean, it's traditional. It's a blend of traditional Western and then Japanese orchestration. It's definitely got Japanese motifs and theory in there, but I mean, it's an orchestra. It's a Western orchestra. So it's nothing like crazy like It Follows or The Revenant that were on my list, which are like really like interestingly sound designed. It's just an orchestra, but as you said, it is so beautiful. Like the opening scene, which in the film is sort of setting up this beautiful landscape, is absolutely breathtaking. It's stunning. It's got this beautiful motif that plays throughout the whole film, and like this, in opposition to The Revenant, I've watched the film like twice in my life, and like I don't know off by heart at all, but listening to that score, I can completely tell where I am in the film, like what I'm meant to be feeling just from the music alone, and I think that's a great point to it, because it's showing how it's amplifying the emotion, because it can portray it without you needing to even know what's going on. You know what you're meant to feel, because he's just such an amazing writer, and I think it's an amazing score. And specifically, the version that I'm referring to here is the symphonic suite, which again is recorded with like real instruments in a proper symphonic orchestra. It's a bit longer than what's in the original film, but it's basically the same, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So that's my number 2.
I'd like to say at this point, sorry, Will, just before we get on to your number 2, I am very much aware of the fact that, and this is going to continue, I've only mentioned one female composer. Right. And I think that's kind of systematic of the industry itself. Not that there aren't female composers, because there's loads of them, and loads of them are brilliant. But the fact that they've not been given the opportunity to push themselves into prominence in the way that these other men have, and so I'm not as aware of their stuff, which is again partly on me for sure, but also representative of the way the industry works. I think it's only a handful of women that have ever won the Oscar for best score or anything like that. So
I mean, I've got none apart from the Goofy movie.
Oh, he's
from Bowen. So there we go. I mean, yeah, but it is.
No, I just wanted to make that point because I am aware of it, but it's just the films that I've seen and what's come up. And on that note, Isabel Waller-Bridge is doing unbelievable stuff for, I think, particularly TV production. She's doing really good stuff. So I'd recommend listening to her if you fancy. Will, your number 2?
All right. It's another Ludwig Göransson.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna
go on. Take a guess.
Black Panther.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Black Panther. I want to say this because he's managed to synthesize from 3 kind of places. Mm-hmm. Is what I would say. You've got the traditional idea of what superhero film music should be.
Yeah.
Distinctive motifs done on strings and horns, etc. Then you've obviously Black Panther set in Wakanda, Central Africa, pulls from Central Africa, of course, brilliantly done. And then it's also synthesized for the themes of like Killmonger and any scenes that take place in America, synthesizes American rap and hip hop, which I love. You guys know me, you know I'm a rap fan.
Yeah.
So it was big for me to hear, hip hop beats in a Marvel film. I loved it. As particular in Killmonger's theme.
Yeah.
But also just the theme when they're entering Wakanda for the first time. What you hear there, you haven't heard in superhero films before. And not only is it beautiful to listen to, it is glorious. It does incredible things with those. To take from those 3 places, synthesize it into one is a feat, and also to match the incredibly vibrant and glorious aesthetic of the film. Yeah, it's an incredible thing to do. How did you know that it was going to be Black Panther?
Well, partly because I know you,
right?
And it's the fact that Black Panther's the place where he pulls from stuff like working with Donald Glover,
right? Okay, yeah.
And then goes, sod it, I'll put it in a film.
Right.
And you're right. I mean,
he's made his own rap album.
Yeah,
to be fair,
he has. And I think you're right. It's the perfect marriage of taking from all those places in terms of, because it would be very easy to look at any of those 3 places and go, that's where I'm going to pull from on its own. That's what I'm going to do for this. But to just go, we'll do all of them, and then do it like that. And I think he did win the Oscar for that, didn't he? I think for Black Panther. Yeah. I have no qualms really with it. It's such a great score, and probably my favourite of the Marvel films. Yeah. Like of the MCU films. I mean, taking X-Men, Spider-Man and stuff out of it. Yeah. Well, number 2 for me, it's Ludwig Göransson.
Oh,
wow.
It's Tenet.
Oh, okay.
I firmly believe that posterity is possibly the greatest piece of film music ever.
Okay.
And I'm willing to die on this hill. One of the primary reasons why the score isn't number 2 is because of that track alone. It's a triumph in musical engineering, which I think is probably more up your street, Roddy. I can't believe I genuinely can't believe it exists. Like the manipulation of the instruments that are there and the sounds which sound like nothing at all, but are actually just instruments manipulated by, a master of this kind of stuff. It's mind-bendingly good. So it fits perfectly with the film. Instruments moving forwards and moving backwards, that's the film, that's Tenet, right? But also, it's incredibly tense and motivating. You could listen to it on its own and still feel like you could be, I can smell it, baking a cake.
Yeah.
And you would feel like you were doing the most important thing in the history of the world. Like, I've got a couple of issues with Tenet, right? In that I think the sound mixing is one of the things, and it's crap, right? The sound mixing. You can't hear what anyone's saying. The benefit of that is that Ludwig Göransson's score is pumped all the way up, and I'm dancing around. Well, I don't know what you're saying, John David Washington, but I'm having a whale of a time over here. The film's well shot and it looks unbelievable, but like this is sort of the definition of, I don't think anyone's ever heard anything like this before. This doesn't exist prior to this. Yeah. And that's kind of like what I think we're going to talk about in a bit. But like, when stuff doesn't exist before something, and then it does because of this, when you're able to see that happen, when you're able to pinpoint the moment where it happened, that's very, very exciting. It's pulsating and it's sharp and it's relentless, it's restless, it's riveting. I love every measure of it. It's sort of unrestricted fierce playfulness. That's how I describe it. So the tempos change a lot, the key changes galore. The ability, again, this is the ability of anybody to transcribe this onto sheet music, which he has done. I've seen the photos of the original sheet music for this score. Is absolute madness, and I can't fathom how anyone will be able to do this. So for that reason alone, basically, I mean, there's so many tracks on it. So you've got the score when you've got the trucks going up and down the highway is unbelievable, and then Posterity, the whole final battle scene. Listen, if listening to Posterity is like the I'm gonna punch through walls feeling. Like I can smell my enemies from 100 miles away. It's And what are you doing while you're doing this? Oh, you're sat at a desk in the library, are you? Right, yeah, but it doesn't matter because I can still kick everyone's ass here. Like, it doesn't matter. I've got this music in, and people walking by me, they don't know that I'm so lethal, but I've got this score playing, and I could kill every single one of them, and the loaded weapon is my ego as I stand up and just take out everyone. What's that, dentistry student? Bam, out of the way. What are you doing over there, psychology? Bam!
You can't see it, anyone listening at home, but he must be imagining it because he is floating off his seat.
I'm having an out-of-body experience at the minute, which is how the music feels. It's absolutely perfect to me, as my dad wheels a bin past the window. But if he was listening to the score, that bin would be flying through the air. It would have been split in half and then reattached using his mind. That's how it would have made. Anyway, I'll stop gushing. But yeah, I just find it the most sort of riveting thing I've ever listened to. So we're at the big one.
Number ones now.
And which is upsetting because I know what Roddy's is, because he sent it to the group chat yesterday, and I went, "No, take it away!" And he deleted it. And the only one that I saw was this one.
Best one.
Okay, well,
Go ahead, please tell us.
So, basically following on from practically everything Dom said, minus like the second half of it, because it doesn't make me want to kill everyone in the library around me.
It doesn't make me want to.
No.
It just makes me realise that I could. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a score that I have on record because I love it so much. It's a score that I have taken loads of inspiration from in my own productions, even though I couldn't even get anywhere near it because, well, I as Dom said, because it's actually already been mentioned, he makes like half of the instruments in it like from scratch, and that is of course Hans Zimmer's Dune.
Okay, right.
Are you going to talk about that?
No.
Okay.
No. I have an idea of something that it could have been.
No, it's
not.
It is like Hans Zimmer's Dune is just, it's something that I'd never heard of before. I've watched Dune like 3 times, and it was only on the third go around that I had any idea what was going on in the film, because I was just listening to the music, and Hans Zimmer amazingly is he, along with the film, he came out with the sketchbook, which actually came out before the film, and that just has like long extended versions of the songs, the first 2 of which are 20 minutes. Wow. Like it's just like a absolute feast for the ears, and it is absolute, like I've never ever heard like anything like it. It sounds otherworldly in the best way possible. Like you listen to Star Wars, you listen to like any of these like high sci-fi things, and they're all grounded. You know, like the Star Wars theme is just an orchestra. You know that was made on Earth. But like, if someone told me that the Dune score was made in an alien planet and they sent it to us, I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, that makes sense. I get that. That's what it sounds like. It's just, it's insane. And as you said, like with the film previously, I don't even know if it would fit into any standard Western notation. I don't think there's a solid tempo for it. I don't think it's confined to a key, or if it is, it's a key that I don't know. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it's mixed amazingly. The film itself is mixed amazingly. There's little like shings when he brings out a sword, and like all of the fighting noises and everything. It's so crisp and clean, and the music, which is also crisp and clean, just complements it in the best way possible. It sort of paints. It's weird, but the music sounds orange. It sounds deserty. It sounds like the film looks. Yeah. And it's something that I think it's Hans Zimmer's best work to date. I think it's so like insanely unique and just awe-inspiring. As a producer myself, I just think it's a really good piece of work.
See, the great benefit of Hans Zimmer going away to do Dune is that we got the Ludwig Göransson score for Tenet and then the Hans Zimmer Dune score, and they both came out at sort of roughly similar times.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was like this incredible, like you were saying, like this feast of unbelievable music. I really like the Dune soundtrack. I do. And my only personal thing, and this obviously is a personal issue, it gets every now and again a little bit too sort of.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm
it's weird. Yeah.
But I mean, it is sort of undeniably extraordinary. And you're right, it is mixed perfectly in the film, and those little stuff like swords coming out and there being like a little shing in the music is exactly what it should be like. And for a film with that kind of scope, you know, I again, listening back to old podcast episodes, I'm wrong on so many occasions. But when I was talking with Michael about my favourite Denis Villeneuve films, I put Dune at number 3 because I thought this is where Denis Villeneuve, bastard Canadian name. This is when he does his giant cubic scale the best.
Right.
And it wouldn't be as good as it is without the score that it has, which aids it in a massive way. I have since realised that I would actually substitute Dune for Arrival on that list, but I'd actually put Arrival. I'd put Arrival second and Sicario third, and then Dune would be fourth. Blade Runner can fuck off. Like, it's good, but anyway. So yeah, I don't have a qualm with it at all. Oscar winning, deservedly so, I think, that year. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, and I've seen some clips of it being done in concert as well.
I'd love to see
the
that.
way that they are able to do it is unbelievable. So yeah, I think we should move on to Will's number 1 because we'll have double the stuff to talk about because I have already mentioned it. I think.
Yes, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, The Social Network.
Yeah, far away.
It's I was about to say it's my favourite film of all time.
I mean, fair enough.
It's up there. It's either that or School of Rock, actually.
Really?
But, yeah, in just terms of ones
Love
that I just love to watch.
I love it.
Social Network. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know even where to begin. I'll start with the first song on the soundtrack. It's a song, piece of music on the soundtrack. Hand Covers Bruised. Yes, and it's reprise or whatever it is that comes later in the film. Just. It's I don't understand how they did it. That the theme, the first piano theme, it comes as, it's so beautiful. It's such a sad yet poignant moment. It's the moment that motivates him throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah.
When his girlfriend breaks up with him because he's an asshole, and that's the beginning. And then when it's reprised later on, the kind of synth sound that you have, the grating synth sound, it's difficult to listen to. But it's an incredible thing, and it creates so much atmosphere. It does it so perfectly. That film has such a tempo to keep up with. It needs something to link every scene, something to be like universally across it, and they've done that perfectly. That motif, the opening piano motif, is just perfect. The grating synths that come through when he's in the boardroom and he's doing his spiel to these lawyers. It's just it's the phenomenal backing for that character. I consider that as his theme.
Yeah,
pretty much. So yeah, I just think it's brilliant. It's one that's stuck with me. It's one that when you posed this question to us, instantly came to my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there was never a time when this wouldn't be on my top 5.
Yeah.
This, I think, can we just a moment, right? A very good mate of mine that lives down the road once told a story of when he was in, and he went to QE, right? It wasn't a great school experience, right? But he tells a story of when he was in, I think, like a woodwork class or something, like a TT class. And this kid stuck his hand up and went, "Sir, what? I can smell chips." What? I can smell chips. Sorry, did you just interrupt my lesson to say you could smell chips? Well, get out. And all I can think at the minute is, I can smell cake. It is.
That's where you were going.
It is sitting directly in front of me, and everyone's being very intelligent and very clever. And I'm going, yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And there's cake here, and it's just calling my name. I'm such a fat man, right?
It's amazing.
It looks great. I can't.
You can't see it. You can just smell it. We can
my laptop screen's in front of it. Yeah, this is just enticing. You know, in cartoons when people float towards things by their nose, that's what I'm gonna be like. I agree with everything you just said, Will. This for me, you know, when you have work to do, this is the music you do. This is the music you should listen to.
I say that like I do work.
Will reveal to us he's got 4K words to write for Monday. It's currently Tuesday, and he's not started at all. All power. So
The soundtrack will get me there.
it will, honestly, put it on, it will. And the track I think you should put on to get you there is Intriguing Possibilities.
Oh, that's, yeah. Well, let me get it.
What I was mentioning before is Reznor and Ross are the masters of synth adaptation, right?
So I've just remembered what Intriguing
Yeah,
Possibilities is.
it sounds like a game show at the start of that track, and then it's not. This is not a game show anymore.
That's what I mean about the pace.
Yeah.
The way that they're able to match the pace of
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin's writing.
Well, this is the thing, right? So the music and the story are essentially the same thing, right? And given that the film is perfect, again, it could possibly be one of my favourite films ever, right? This is another perfect element of it. It's not frilly, it's focused, it's businesslike, like the story, it's Shakespearean, but it always has a dark twist in it. Every track, if you notice, has one little moment where there's a bit of a sort of, like a shudder.
Yeah.
And that comes through so well with every scene that it's in. I think Reznor Ross are geniuses, and nowhere is that more present than here. This is what I was talking about. Into the Spider-Verse couldn't be what it was. We couldn't have had all the bumps and clicks for it without this first, right? So this set the tone, right? You know, Sorkin wrote the script, right, and gave it to Fincher, and Fincher gave it to the studio, and they said, we like it a lot, but we want you to cut a couple of bits off it. And he went, I don't want to do that because I think it's perfect the way it is, so I'm going to have Aaron Sorkin read it from start to finish because I think it's going to be a 2-hour film. And by the way, it is 2 hours on the dot. And when Aaron Sorkin read it, it was 2 hours long, right? And that kind of precision is exactly what the score feels like to me. What I love about it is the way that Fincher altered it to make it more prevalent, right? So if you read the script, which I have done, in the opening scene, it says, I think Paul Young's love of the common people comes crashing in, or crashes in, right? And Fincher went, nah, I don't think so. I don't think that's right. So what I'm going to do, Reznor Ross are going to do it better. So I'm going to give it to them. They're going to come up with something. I'm going to put that in. And then they did. And it's perfect. And nothing else would be better than that being there. It's understated and it's calm. It doesn't try too much, which it could do. And what's nuts is just, you know, imagine, even if it is David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin coming to you, imagine being tasked with the Facebook film and then doing this.
Yeah.
Like, what possible reason could you have for being this clever until you realise, again, it's David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin, so actually it's fine to just go ham on it. Yeah, I think it's superb.
Oh yeah, definitely. I noticed. I just remembered. I mentioned that I feel like the breakup was a thing that motivates him, but I don't think it's that. I think that would diminish all of the rest of the things that actually cause him to do it. But that theme that's present there, the fact that it's present throughout, shows how it is something that reoccurs in his
Absolutely.
narrative. It is his internal monologue.
It sounds like jealousy.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like. Because it plays again, if I'm right, I think it plays again when there's a sort of debacle about Eduardo getting into the Phoenix and there being a little bit of a debate about that. And then, of course, it plays in the courtroom where the whole thing is, I've done this with integrity. I'm out for both of us, and you're only out for you. And when he realizes that, the jealousy theme comes back. And I think you're right. I think it's a huge motivating factor for him. And to make it a sound is really clever.
Yeah, to be able to just articulate one man's kind of, well, not one man's, but a person's thoughts just so perfectly while it's happening on screen, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's
I tried to mimic Hand Covers Bruise for the short film I made in the summer.
Yeah.
Fucking shit.
You know what I thought? I thought it was kind of...
Well,
like
what I did was I had a slightly sort of crackly pulsating synth and then played some piano over the top of it and went, I'm Reznor and Ross!
That's the thing. When I hear something like that is synthy, quiet, kind of subtle, but still present, that is what I think of.
Yeah.
I do think of The Social Network.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
I love it. Well, in which case, we get on to my number one here. And weirdly, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
That is weird.
Empire of Light.
Okay. Oh!
It's a Reznor Ross double in the top 5 for me. Out of all the people, it's Reznor Ross who are in the top 5 twice. I think this is really personal for me.
Okay.
This is a score from possibly the most beautiful looking film I've ever seen. So Sam Mendes directing,
Yeah.
Roger Deakins on cinematography, which is a winning combination, I think. I love Emperor of Light so much. As a cinema lover, as someone who not just loves film, but loves the cinema itself and the cinematic experience, I think it's the best love letter to that I've ever seen in terms of being about the cinema. Inception is a love letter to cinema, and that's why it's my favourite film, because it's also mixed in with this other stuff. But just in terms of just being about our cinema and some people within it, this is just perfect, right? I think it's exactly what you were just saying, right? In that it's understated and it's quiet, but it's still present.
Yeah.
This is the kind of music that you would dream up, and then you have that. You know when you have that dream and you're like, oh, I'm gonna write this down, and then I remember we're gonna make this a thing, and I'm gonna be the king of the world. And you wake up and you go, what was that dream, brain? And it goes, oh, I could smell chips, and you're just like, so the subtle synth masters, they're at it again. This is what it is. So they create. I think the place where they start off is by making genuinely beautiful piano melodies, like astonishingly beautiful piano melodies, and then underpin them in the sort of a similar way they did in Social Network, but in an optimistic way. These are synths that are sort of underneath and bubbling, but in like a really positive kind of provocatively emotional way, and it captures the awe that, you know, going into the cinema to see a film when you love it as much as I do, that feeling that it gives you, it got that for me. So it's, you know, it's got the human element of having the piano there, and then it's got the otherworldly element of the cinema by putting in the synths, and I love that you can sort of distinguish the two characters in the music. That's a great idea. It's a human story as well, the film. That's what's important. And the music just kind of feeds into that every second. So the actual track, Empire of Light, which is on the album, there's a song called Empire of Light, and the track called High Windows, were both on my Spotify playlist for 2023. Not the top 5 songs, but, you know, when you get that 100 strong, they were both very, very high up on that, comfortably in the top sort of, you know, 25, I think. And what's hilarious to me is when I was writing this top 5, I was writing it thinking, like, I had all these scores mapped out and all the honourable mentions and stuff, and I was going, oh, what's going to be? And then it kind of just made sense. And what was hilarious was I went Tenet and then this underneath it, and they could not be more different. Like, they're such polar opposites to each other. It's so reserved, but it's emotive, and it's my favourite score in years, from one of my favourite films in years. I saw the first film, this is why it's personal, I think. I saw the first time I saw the film was, I'd had a mad day. I'd blacked out at the gym. I don't think I'd eaten anything, and I'd been a total mess all day. So I saw it in the cinema, and I cried like a child. But I still felt like the middle of it was like muddled, and it was a bit mixed, and it didn't quite get the tone right in the middle section of it. Loved the other bits, but the middle I was like, I don't know about this. I saw it the second time around with my mum and my dad. We went to Amsterdam, and at the Eye Film Museum they have probably my favourite cinema ever.
Right.
And it's this beautiful screen, huge room, little honky tonk piano over in the corner for a lot of added effect of, and the seats beautifully comfortable, really kind of dark, lovely projector, massive screen. And I saw it and we watched it again, and that time it just sort of took over. It just washed over me. I was just so on board with the whole thing. I couldn't have loved it more. I didn't have the issues in the middle that I thought I was going to have again. I watched it again and went, oh, I was completely wrong the first time. It doesn't matter. I just want everyone to give it a try, because I found the sheet music for it a few months ago. I'm proud of like that specific track, and I've learned to play it. And it must be very, very annoying for anyone listening to my piano, because that's basically all that's been coming out of it. But, you know, not for me. I like it. I like it a lot. And yeah, it was sort of... What's funny is that I didn't really appreciate the score, because I didn't listen to the score again between first and second viewings. And it was probably like 2 months apart. And then after seeing it the second time, I suddenly went, that music was unbelievable. And after listening to it again on its own, yeah, it's my alarm in the morning now. Which is weird, because it doesn't exactly get you out of bed. It just kind of makes you go, ah. And it doesn't go, you've got a lecture in 15 minutes. Get up, you fat shit. And we go, oh, Christ. So I then tried putting the Tenet score as my alarm. Horrible. Horrible. Hated it. It would be like putting the It Follows score on. Just waking up, having a lovely dream, wake up and going, okay, that's fine. I've got to have some Cheerios. I've spoken a lot, but it's been very, very, very pleasant to have two separate. I thought we were going to overlap way more than we did. I thought there was going to be. I was writing my list thinking everyone who's ever been on TikTok is going to look at me and go, "You stupid man," because I think, like, as we mentioned before, the problem with being the film guy at parties, which again I really don't know that much about films, right? Like, I've seen a decent number, and I do a podcast where I talk about it, but it's not like I'm any authority on it, you know. Like, I don't have qualifications in it. Side note though. Side note. I'm approaching my 6th module at uni, which has had film included, and they've all gone pretty well. So I like to think I like to know a little bit about what I'm talking about. No, but the point is that you know, I'm constantly worrying that, and I don't know why, because I don't get feedback on the podcast. Occasionally, Corey, shout out, will come up to me and go, "Oh, I listened to the podcast again." I'm like, "Oh my god, someone listens to it." But you know, I shouldn't worry about what people think about my choices and stuff. But I'm constantly worried that I'm not picking like obscure enough crap.
Right.
Yeah, and like so to go mainstream, so to have Kung Fu Panda in my top 5 felt ridiculous. But that's what I mean, right?
It should be.
Yeah, and I just thought about it again. No, I do like this a lot. And actually, I think weirdly, Roddy's probably come out of this with the film person's choices. So
That's me.
So, you know, I mean, obviously, it's different on this particular subject because music is such a big part of your life, and this is very music-centric, but, like, you know, The Revenant and Dune and It Follows and Princess Mononoke, these are all sort of strong films that you'd have to have. I mean, listen, you've picked it up from the honourable mentions, let's just say that, because I wasn't... You know, the music guy, I wasn't optimistic, having just gone, so number 1, Boss Baby, right? You know, you can get out. But I think you really turned it around, right? Whereas, you know, I'm completely in agreement with all of our choices, me and you, like the pair of them. I don't see anything wrong.
Exactly.
But I feel like there's a pressure just to be like, come on, you're supposed to be the guy, and I'm like, I'm not the guy. I just talk about films all the time, and everyone should tell me like, let no one tell you to shut up. You just start talking. Well, I do anyway. And so what I'm saying is, if I turn up to your house and start talking about films, please tell me to shut up. Anyway, you about to say?
Well, no, I mean, there's a reason that, you know, they're in top scores lists everywhere. Though. It's because they are the best scores. Like, you put them in there because they are some of the best scores. Like, I think I get the, oh god, maybe I'm being a bit too generic, but like there's always a reason that like things based on personal preference are as popular as they are because they are just universally really good.
Also, I feel like we all had different reasons behind our choices.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because I said Boss Baby because it was like a cinematic masterpiece, and then you said
this fucking guy, man. I was kind of just waiting for you to be like, and number 1, it's the B movie, which I genuinely hate, by the way, and not even from being like a film nerd. Like I actively lose respect for the world. I'm scared of a bee cheating on me with my girlfriend. That's what I'm scared. I'm going to lose her to a bee.
Well, that does seem like a you issue because I love that.
Imagine being that guy, right, where you get your wife stolen by an insect. How would you feel? This poor guy that no one ever considers the fact that they were a perfectly happy couple.
No, he's the bad guy in the film.
I know.
Poor bloke.
But even
wants to kill a bee
even if you were in a relationship where you didn't really get on with the other person, would you leave them for a bee?
No.
Really though?
How seductive is that bee though?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Riz. Let's be honest. He's got bee Riz.
My main.
He's got bzzz. Oh, thank you.
That was my main qualm with the film is that bees they can't talk. It's not.
There was a bit I love in that. This is becoming a bee movie.
Listen. I told you, 3 hours of podcast space a month. We've got time.
I do love the bit where they're choosing jobs.
Really?
Yes, that's great.
I think it's cool.
The guys with the finger
driving
hats.
around and,
Come on, tell me you didn't want a finger hat when you were like watching it last week or whenever you last watched it, I guess.
I think it's safe to say B Movie didn't leave a positive impression on me. It's a bit like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
It's a film
I don't think I'll be watching it
I
again.
don't think I've ever actually watched it all the way through.
B
Which
Movie.
one?
I've seen.
Alvin and the Chipmunks?
No, B movie.
Why?
I've seen
Why?
bits of it, and I know what comes
Why
out.
are you so affronted by the fact that he hasn't made it through B
Too
Movie?
emotionally intense. I get it.
When you get too invested in a relationship.
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
see it
yeah, and then you
dismantled
see it
by a
dismantled by an insect. Yeah, it's tough. But like these these are dangers in life, man. Because these comes out of nowhere. They maybe you know what? Maybe I'll need to do a revisiting of B Movie.
Yeah.
Just
Review
and
it.
see it actually as a different film and what this is about. Can you imagine if
I'll
we go
watch
from
along
this
episode.
genuinely quite highbrow discussion about film scores and the next one I'm like, here's why B Movie is brilliant. Maybe it's actually a subtle commentary about how turmoil can be where you least expect it.
Can be.
Oh my god, it's just like a verb and a noun. Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know if it is.
Okay, here's a question then for something you to ponder on. Have you ever listened to a film's music and gone, I hate this. This sounds ridiculous. Because what I will say is, I think it's really interesting. I was talking about, down the line choices here, but none of us have got any John Williams in our top 5.
Right.
And how easy would it have been to include Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, you know?
I'd be lying if I didn't consider it, but I just don't. I think it's so familiar.
Yeah.
It's also like it works so perfectly. Harry Potter, let's say, works so perfectly.
But Harry Potter is Schindler's List. Basically just positive spin on it. Well, and not the film. Not the film. Not the film. Can you imagine the film except
No.
Liam
I
Neeson
don't think I can.
is Daniel Radcliffe?
I don't think I can imagine that film.
I think that would be really funny.
There was one,
That you
but
hate.
it wasn't score based. It was soundtrack based.
Right.
And it's the new Top Gun film, and it was the scene I was looking forward to most.
Was it the beach?
It was
scene?
the beach scene, and then One Republic came on. Why? Why did that happen? And it was like I don't know if it's just because I'd heard it on the radio beforehand so
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
but it was like I feel like I'm watching an
That is a
advert or something. I was
That
like,
is
what the
that is a
hell's going on?
weird bit. I mean, listen, I
love
really love
a
Top
good
Gun
film.
Maverick.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really love
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick.
Overall, it was a really good.
But I will accept that that's a slightly strange choice. And there's like when the Suicide Squad came out, which I think may be one of the worst films ever made.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, the film's a bit choppy, but the soundtrack's lovely. It's not.
No.
Doesn't make sense. Why are Eminem, The White Stripes, and 21 Pilots on the same album? It makes no sense
together.
at all. And what I love is the revisionism that's going on. So, Sucker for Pain, which is Imagine Dragons and Wiz Khalifa.
Lil Wayne's on there.
And and people, and even the 21, even heathens, people are now going, yeah, this is shit.
I think people don't look back. It's just an age well.
Yeah, but it wasn't born well. It didn't not aging well. It was born crap.
Oh my god.
Came out of David Ayer's womb, depressed.
Will, what's your film that you
Negative
really,
one? Yeah. I genuinely can't think of one. I'm looking.
Too positive.
I'm looking. There are needle drops that I'm not a huge fan of.
Okay, so let's talk about
Yeah.
needle drops, because I think needle drops are important. They can be really good at setting a mood. So, for example, Jackie Brown, when the needle drops and it's who is he and what does he do? That man we passed just tried to stare me down. That is perfect, right? And I won't, just for fear of arousal. I meant these two, not listeners. Don't worry. You're safe at home. Or are you? No. And again, Tarantino in Reservoir Dogs, when he does Stuck in the Middle with You.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. So stuff like that, when it services the story, I'm all for. But when Suicide Squad does, because that's why Guardians of the Galaxy was so great at the start, because all the songs meant stuff to the people in it, right?
So cool.
And then Suicide Squad went, oh, we'll do that. Wiz Khalifa and Lil Wayne.
But it's also like that's
Yeah, thanks,
that's
Wayne.
not
Cheers.
music that we were familiar with before.
No, exactly, yeah.
One of my favorite needle drops, End of Fight Club. Where's my mind, Pixies? Which I mean,
It's a great
just
shout.
bangs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can't talk.
everyone you can like. That's obviously everyone's very familiar with that
Yeah.
bit.
I'd say Hot Fuzz is.
Just
I'd say
I
Hot
haven't
Fuzz has
watched
got
it,
some.
but I'm pretty sure we can't talk about it.
Very good. Well done.
oh,
Clever.
Oh, I was
Sorry,
really
sorry,
like,
continue.
why?
No, I
Continue.
like it. No. Zing. We did it.
No, you know one that I'm not a huge fan of.
Go on.
Very recent, very fresh. Murder on the Dance Floor in Saltburn.
Oh, brother, I was literally saying this to Dad this morning, right?
Fuck.
I can't listen to this bastard song anymore.
Because obviously it's been
Also,
it's been removed
I know,
from,
right?
from the film so much.
Yep.
Recently, but even in the film, I was like, I'm not a huge fan of the song. Just personally,
It's
I
fine.
think
It's fun.
It's alright.
It's a groove. It's it's not like I'd listen to it all the time, but it's it's a very popular song. People love it, and
Yeah.
Sophie Ellis-Bextor is a great pop artist.
Yeah, of course. But I wasn't a huge fan of the song before.
And now you hate
The
it
film
even more.
didn't make me love it,
No.
but then what people have done with it
Yeah.
makes me dislike it more.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Okay, well, here's what we're going to do, right? Because we had a brief discussion earlier before we were recording. What we're going to do, we're just going to talk about some of the films we've seen recently and how we feel about them, right?
Cool.
Because
Alright.
we spoke about Saltburn before. Will and I not really a fan. You think you were a bit sort of lukewarm on it, weren't you?
Yeah,
I've
I'm
got
sort
issues
of
with it.
bath warm on it.
Oh,
So
don't.
So you're in the
oh.
bath for a bit long. You haven't played any more.
no.
Hot. That's sort of how I'm feeling.
I didn't
on it.
clock that earlier. You just kept... Okay.
The I don't know that I'll ever have a bath again.
Never again.
I used to love, a little sort of relaxing bath. The problem, right? Okay, this is way off topic, but the problem with a bath, right? after you've gotten and gone, oh, lovely warm water, very nice, relaxing, right? You are just sort of wallowing in your own filth for a bit, and
I
now
need to get out.
I need to get out because I'm prune-like, so I'm getting out now, and this started off really fun, and now it's an experience I don't want to have anymore.
Yeah.
And now watching Saltburn, I want to get out of the bath so quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's either got blood in it or something much worse.
Yes.
And
Jacob Elordi.
Okay.
well, yes,
He was really good.
he was.
in it.
As I say, the
What
cast
an
were
accent,
great.
can I say?
Yeah,
What a
really good.
really good
I mean, he's
accent.
Really
Australian,
good.
so it's less of a leap
Yeah,
for you
true.
to
Still,
think,
though,
but it's still very
For
Having said
raw
that-
English,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, no,
Having
Perfect, spot
having
on.
said that, Barry's
Barry Keoghan's-
Scouse
accent
was sort of
really
Merseyside
not
type.
good.
I love,
It was.
Wait, what?
I thought it was all right. It was.
I
But it
thought
did.
he
It did
kept
drop out. It
slipping
did
back
drop
into
out. No,
Irish,
it did drop
like,
out a bit.
throughout.
I mean, are we not just talking about the similarities of the Irish?
But that, yeah, I guess
They are
maybe it's just
similar,
they are
yeah.
they're so
Yeah.
similar.
But-
And also, if you know Barry Keoghan for his Irish accent,
True.
which is obviously prevalent in
Yeah, it's very different. It's
Top Boy,
definitely
Banshees of Inisherin.
yeah.
Williams,
Top Boy.
where he does his Irish accent.
Yeah.
Although I mean, even in Banshees, that's an altered Irish accent. The Aran Islands accent in particular is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
I remember Daniel Radcliffe was in The Cripple of Inishmaan, which was Martin McDonagh's stage play,
Right.
and had to do it, and it's impossible. It's really, really tricky. We were saying this before. Talk to Me has got to be one of the films of the year, right?
Yes.
It's traumatized
Great, but
Will.
It's a hard watch. I
Hardwell watching.
It was. I mean,
Okay.
I was gripped.
Okay.
I was gripped, but I couldn't.
That's stated.
I'm ignoring that. I'm genuinely talking beyond that. I don't think I'd ever watch that again. And
Not really.
No, never.
No, I think now I've seen it, I'd be more able to watch it again.
no, I physically couldn't. It's
A part of me wishes that we were saying that. So there's a sequence where the brother is in essentially hell. I would have been alright with that going on for a little bit longer, not the
Yeah.
full 8 minutes, whatever it was meant to
Yeah.
be, but like another few, like another 15 seconds or whatever, because it felt
It is
really
very quick.
quick.
It is
Yeah,
very quick.
and I felt like to be unnerved by it more would have made it feel like there was more at stake.
That
Even
is
though
it.
there was loads at stake.
Because it's
but,
like, well, where is he?
Yeah,
Where is he? Is he
yeah.
in a club? What's going on?
Yeah.
But no, he's in hell.
he's in a nudist club.
Yeah. But no, I mean,
Spearmint Rhino.
whilst I was watching it, I couldn't help but get slightly annoyed by the on the nose overarching metaphor of
Yeah.
like teenage drug use.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's it's a great message. Obviously, don't do drugs.
interesting.
But like, all the way through, I was like, I was flitting between this is really preachy and this is a great message.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
resonated
yeah.
with it. It's like, that was my only gripe.
It's
with
because it basically outright says it.
Yeah.
Right. In that the mother is dealing with addiction and that's why she's dead.
Yeah.
And so I thought what a really good bit was the scene with the father that wasn't the father, because that felt again like, ooh, is it all happening again? Like, is he the same? Right. That was great.
I'm just reliving how much that film messed me up.
Well, I would say it was one of those films that like it stuck with me a bit after I stopped watching it, and I haven't had that in a long time because I think I'd say I'm a relatively hardened horror fan now in that not much creeps me out in that way. I'm more looking at like the filmmaking and how it's done. So Charlotte and I went to go see Pray for the Devil, right, which was basically an exorcism film. And I actually thought it was all right. I thought it was fine. I think it's Colin Salmon. His name is. He was great in it, but I could tell when a lot of stuff was going to happen, and I don't even mean like I saw that one coming. Like it was filmmakingly boring at times, and so when you can when you can see that happening, it detracts from how much it's going to stick with you. Whereas with Talk to Me, I still felt like. You know, and it's amazing because there's long scenes of stuff where they're going, oh, they're possessed. I wonder what's going to happen. Well, it's going to go wrong, you turd. And I didn't think of that. And so when the horrible things started to happen, they were horrible, as they should have been. Really horrible. So they were great. A film I saw this year, which I loved, it was called The Old Oak. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's about some Syrian refugees who move into a small town in the northeast. It's a Ken Loach film. It's absolutely fantastic. It's the perfect human study. It's a really weird link to make, but one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who ever is an episode called Midnight. And basically there's a monster that you can't see, right? It's just something knocking on the outside of a cabin, and then it gets in and it makes one person start repeating what everyone says. But the reason I love it so much is because it's a study of the human condition and human nature and how we interact with each other as people. Because it's a group of absolute strangers who get on a bus and then they're forced to interact very closely with each other, right? And it felt like that, except on a sort of like a social issue scale. So for these, it's a study of Englishness basically. Like, can you be patriotic without being racist? And what the conclusion it basically comes to is great. Okay. Go on. What are you thinking of?
Yeah, Jerusalem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Which I did. I mentioned this last podcast. My A-level drama monologue was taken from Jerusalem. It's a great play.
I wanted to do my diss on that.
Yeah,
why didn't you?
It's too late now.
It's too late now because I've got 4,000 words. 4,000 words due in on Monday, and.
But it was an idea that I did not pose to my supervisor. So I don't think
for any reason.
I don't think I could just jump that one and didn't think of it in time.
Oh dear.
Classic Will organisation.
Well, I'm taking it you two did it at A-level.
We did, yeah.
And that's why you just sort of looked like you had an epiphany.
Yeah, A-level English.
They asked me that in my interview.
Oh yeah.
For Oxford, which I bombed. But this one was all right.
That's a surefire way to not get into Oxford if you go there. But...
Shut up.
Jesus Christ. But anyway, they asked me, is it a Brexit play? Which is an interesting...
That's a strong question.
Interesting thought.
Well, written quite a long time before.
Yeah, but it wasn't the idea. Was
European
the
membership?
The idea's been prevalent for a long time.
Yeah, of course.
What, old England... What should it look like?
Yep.
Should it still look like that now?
Yep.
And what does that mean for the UK?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What it is now?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, that was just a question.
Yeah. Have either of you seen Godzilla -1?
What's that?
No, don't know.
Wait, is that? I saw Ali Plum put something on his story about it.
Yep.
It's being like, you should absolutely watch this.
I'm so dying to see Godzilla -1. You have no idea. I think it I've held off making a list of my favourite films of the year because I think there's danger that's going to be in it.
Wait, what is Godzilla -1?
Godzilla -1 is a Godzilla film.
And you think it's going to be...
Yeah, because it's a Japanese-made Godzilla film, and the story of it is more water there. The story of it is about I think he's a Japanese ex-fighter pilot, right. And it's basically a study of PTSD, but with Godzilla in it, and it's all about bringing the scale back to Godzilla and making you feel scared of him. The film that's coming out in the summer, which is Godzilla and Kong against a massive dinosaur.
That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, it's not that.
Wow,
it's not that, because that will be shite. But apparently Godzilla -1 is unbelievable, and I really need to see it. Right, how good was Saltburn really? Because it's going to be up for so many awards.
It was the Globes.
Yeah, well, I hate the Globes.
I mean,
they are pointless.
Yeah.
Do you think the Globes are going to represent the Oscars?
They usually do.
They usually do, but I don't know. I'm skeptical.
I don't know.
I don't want to be a fanboy. I was happy with them, but I don't want to be a fanboy about it because this is the problem with me saying that Oppenheimer's my favourite film. Everyone knows that Nolan's my favourite director, so everyone's just going to be like, well, duh, of course you do. And I'm really trying hard to divorce myself from that. So I've been watching Oppenheimer again. I bought it the other day, and I'm watching it again. And I'm trying
to divorce yourself from that.
Yeah, I'm trying to challenge. I'm engaged in a marriage, and it's really like paperwork is unbelievable. Just to be like, listen, Killian, I know it's been a rough ride, but it's not working. You're a DVD. I've got places to go. You know.
Something about a hole there.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a film where a DVD steals my wife instead of
the
DVD movie. Oh my god, the DVD movie! We've got to make this happen. We've got to make the DVD movie happen because that just makes it sound like I got this DVD movie. You just say DVD, mate. You don't need to say DVD.
I got a
movie.
DVD of the DVD movie.
I've got a DVD of the DVD movie, and is it a pirated DVD of the DVD movie? No, it's just a normal DVD of the DVD movie. But like, okay, here we go. What we're gonna do is write the plot here and now for the DVD movie.
Okay.
So, is this going to be a world where there's loads of DVDs working in a society?
No.
That would become a bit like the Emoji Movie.
But how do they get about?
This is the thing.
DVDs?
So we have to assume that this DVD has sentience.
But
it's anthropomorphized.
They're anthropomorphized because they got legs and arms.
God.
They're
Yeah.
not rolling.
Are they rolling? But so is a DVD just the DVD, or is it the case as well for the DVD?
Whoa! Or is that its bed? Maybe?
Oh my god!
It goes to bed. It's like night. Shuts the case. Like
Because
clicks into its little
you
hole.
can put any DVD in any place for a DVD.
So it's not part of its entity.
No,
Is the mouth the hole?
It has to be.
it's got.
Well,
to
in
be.
that case, if
Where's
that
its
case
arse?
is its bed, what the fuck is it doing when it goes to sleep? Clicks the thing through its own mouth. So, good night. It's like,
I didn't think of that.
and if it's his ass, that's even worse.
Maybe this is
so.
why there hasn't been a DVD movie.
Well, there's just those first.
Dom, there's been
hurdles
loads
to
of
get
DVD
past.
movies. What are you talking about?
Those pretty massive hurdles of a DVD not being able
They made the Emoji Movie. Come on.
How did that go?
There's no.
But there was
that's
a
true.
DVD emoji, and that was not in the emoji.
That's a good
movie.
point. There's a joke that goes around in the Pixar offices to work out what they do for their next film. They just put googly eyes and different things around the office. It's gonna be like stapler movie. Look at it. It's got eyes now. But okay, so the cover of Grimsby, the film, on the DVD, the hole in the middle is the hole of the elephant from the film.
Right.
Oh.
His mouth, his nose. What?
Have you seen Grimsby?
No.
Are you lying? Yes. Okay. I am
So
not.
we
I
don't
am
have
not
to
about.
totally-
I'm not about to. Yes, I'm not about to say what it is. But if you know, then you know what it. You can guess what it is just by what I'm
really
saying.
not fair.
But I know of the scene.
Right. I can't recommend watching it. Raheem Sterling's in it.
Wow.
He shows up as himself playing football.
I'm sure that's nowhere near the worst thing about it.
What, the Raheem Sterling's in it?
Big up Raheem Sterling.
Well,
He's great.
I would
where
have. There was a few weeks ago against Wolves. It was only 30 minutes in. He was 1-on-1 with 3 other Chelsea players next to him, and each took a shot and hit the keeper. And I literally would have subbed him there, and then it would have been like, get off now. Anyway, so back to the DVD movie.
Yes.
Is it just shot for shot the B movie, but with DVDs in it instead?
That would be brilliant.
That would be good.
animated.
Like, I saw a thing the other day where someone made a meme called Gone Goose, and it's just Gone Girl, but shot for shot remake with a goose looking really longingly into Ben Affleck's eyes.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Yeah, it's a shot-for-shot remake
Of the B
of
movie. According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a DVD should
It's very true.
be able to fly. But should it though? Because it's a frisbee essentially.
Doesn't have wings.
So you're saying every time it needs
But can a frisbee fly?
every time it needs to move, it needs to be thrown.
Yeah, it needs to have. Yeah, but that's where the human element comes in. It needs
Lower.
it needs the human touch.
So okay. So this is the plot.
Become a
So
frisbee without you.
in order
That's
to
the
fly,
tagline.
in order to fly, these DVDs have to get into their contraptions and be flung. This DVD finds a person. This person can fling him. You know, he
Right.
doesn't have to get in that mechanized
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
apparatus. And that's the plot. But everyone's like, no, you stay with the apparatus.
Or good, but
No,
is
it
is
was-
is the section further than that? The
Wow.
plot of going to really find out who you are, DVD. I'm gonna need to play you.
Wow.
But the action for this human of putting this anthropomorphized DVD into a slot is really dark.
Yeah.
It's to be like, I'm going to crush you now. I'm going to envelop you, so you can't move, and you will spin at 1,000,000 miles an hour
And make noise.
and make a noise, and then we'll find out who you are. We'll find out what's on you.
Wow.
And what if what is on him is Hitler's greatest speeches?
Maybe maybe he's a blank disc and everyone else. But he's a blank disc.
Oh my god!
And he needs someone to play him.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
Who?
That was what I was thinking.
The love interest.
If we
I thought you meant play him as an actor in the film needs to play the who would be cast? Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Everything's Chris Pratt at the minute.
Yeah.
He's Mario. He's Garfield. He's
So unfortunate.
Jurassic World.
He is.
I hate the first Jurassic World film
Really?
because the point of the Jurassic
We were talking
Jurassic
about the
Park
dissension of
movies,
franchises,
yeah,
weren't we? Yeah.
the point of Jurassic Park movies was about a man who's getting ready to become a father. Jurassic World's about
Oh, dude.
Blue the dinosaur. They are this close to putting subtitles on the dinosaur. So
Oh,
close.
yeah. Yeah.
So close.
We are anthropomorphizing a DVD.
You say we are. We've not actually put it into
We
production.
will, sorry.
But we will. Okay, who would you cast as the DVD? Bearing in mind, so the character is, they don't know anything about themselves. They could be nothing.
They're searching.
But the only way to find out something about themselves is to play themselves,
they're
which is going to be a
social
traumatic experience. Yeah. You know when Paul Atreides goes in and puts his hand in the box?
Yeah.
That's what it's going to feel
That's
like.
what it's going to be like.
I reckon Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes. Good
shout,
social
actually.
outcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Michael Cera.
yeah, that's Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Mike Cera would be quite funny. He
But
gets good
but that's the thing
quips.
is are we going for a jovial tone to this, or is this going to be a deep introspective
The
film?
thing is with Michael Cera, he's also such a physical actor, I feel.
Yeah, he is. It's
Yeah.
difficult to
So
come
is Jesse
across.
Eisenberg. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, you need someone whose voice is so.
Kevin Hart.
No.
No.
I'm not going to do the impression,
love Kevin
but
Hart,
that would
yeah.
be so funny. That would be really funny. Imagine him shouting about not wanting to go into a DVD set.
I can. For some reason, picture it
Yeah, I know.
exactly. Has he said that before?
I don't know. Maybe he has.
Do you remember when he played a rabbit in Secret Life of Pets? Anybody?
No, no, I haven't seen that film.
Best voice acting I've ever heard.
Is it? Is it?
No.
One of my favourite voice acting ever is Seth Rogen in Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, yeah.
Not gonna quit bouncing to that. How terrifying would it be if every time you put a DVD into a DVD player, it went, no, please don't, and then you put it in, and you're just like, I'm sorry, I've got to watch Mean Girls. I'm sorry.
Well, it would get more in line with what I used to think happened with music, which was you put something in and it would tell the little men in the speakers to start
Right?
playing.
Yeah, sure. The monkeys in the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so it makes more sense actually. I'd be like, okay, well, that solves it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Would we be ruining an
What if
entire
that is
generation
the
of kids?
film?
What? That they don't want to go in and
People in the
there's
tiny
people in the
speakers.
box. They discover like a sort of like Horton Hears a Who world.
This is
And there's, like-
this is all what's the word for it? Trade.
Trademarked.
This is all trade. So
Yeah, you can't have this. Martin Scorsese, if you're listening, you're not allowed. We
Get
own the
your bloody
rights to the
fingers
DVD movie.
Get your fingers out.
This is the message to Greta Gerwig, to Christopher Nolan,
Yeah.
to Denis
To all
Villeneuve,
them out there.
to all of them.
Yeah.
Get your filthy, grubby hands off the DVD movie. If you leave finger marks on the DVD
scratch
movie,
it.
you'll scratch the disc, and I swear to God, it will scream at you in Kevin Hart's voice, and you will not be happy.
No.
People would take better care of their DVDs though, if they were sentient.
They would.
They'd need to be okay. We are talking about this extended. Like they'd need to be okay. This is all staying in, by the way. When we stopped talking about scores, I think we were at 1 hour 15. We're now at 1 hour 40. They'd have to be comfortable with being in their case at the very least.
Yes.
Yeah.
like
That's
vampires.
if that's just the bed for them, then.
But would we go back to VHS? Could that be part of the story?
It could be like
the
the old
DVD's
people.
dying out, and we've got to go back to VHS because they're not screaming.
They're old and they're and maybe vinyl's trendy and like cool and hip. They're the cool hip people. 'cause
Yeah,
that's cool.
they're the wacky neighbour that comes in and goes, hey!
Various demographics here,
Yeah. And
represented through the demographic that used them.
yeah, and if it's
Mm-hmm.
like a CD of My Chemical Romance, they're like an emo. They're like sad
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah.
walking
Then it's
about.
becoming the CD movie. and then that doesn't ring as well as the DVD movie.
Yeah, the DVD movie does sound good.
The CD movie is fundamentally flawed in its title. I feel it's got to be the DVD movie.
The CD movie could be a farmer movie. It could be
A
anything.
what?
It could be a farmer movie.
The CD. Shut the fuck up.
Oh my god.
Do you know? I
I
haven't sat with you two and made shit puns since history A level, and that is really quite upsetting.
Memories.
The thing with the DVD movie is, right, so you know in Cars, when he gets to Radiator Springs,
Yeah.
and there's like the old Jeep, and there's
Yeah.
the Stoner VW, and there's the slightly sexually aggressive old lady,
Yeah.
and there's the cool sort of South American guy who's got, you know, those kind of stuff. Are we proposing that certain films would take on certain characteristics?
Yes.
I reckon so.
Definitely.
So the question is,
What films and who are they?
the film Downfall,
Okay.
is it?
You just had to take it, man.
Is it him?
No, it is not.
Well, what the else would it be, Will?
Include him. That's alright.
Maybe there's like a discarded disc box or a scratch disc box. There's a little cameo.
But that's the problem. I bought Downfall a couple of months ago, and it sits proudly on my DVD shelf because it is actually a very good film, and Bruno Gantz is amazing in it. But would I display it proudly if it was reciting the speeches of Hitler to me?
Not in the DVD movie, I don't think. He
What kind of age rating are we going for here? Are we going for a sausage party, or are we going for like a B movie?
Sausage Party was a
Please
flop.
not sexualized.
I think we can fit. What's the one where you can make adult jokes?
12,
I say
probably.
12 or 15.
Okay, I think we can 15 it. Then why not?
15 it. I think 15
Okay, 12,
sausage
we'll
party territory.
Okay,
yeah,
12.
go for a 12.
Yeah, because then you can make funny jokes. You can make, and it can be for all the family.
Yeah.
You know, kids can watch it. Adults can watch it.
It's my favourite film, by the way, on the censorship boards when it says, this film contains language. I love it. Perfect. Yeah, fantastic.
Thank God.
Thank God for that, man. Apparently in Paddington,
Yeah.
it's a PG, I think. Or no, it might be a U, but it says contains one use of very mild bad language.
Oh.
And I don't know what it is.
Does it bother?
It could be.
Too?
I don't. It might be. But you know that bit where he says, "Get your hands off, get your hands off my marmalade sandwich." You know, so that is not my joke. That's Lee Mack, not mine. But still,
That's actually the line he said to the Queen.
can you imagine? It'd be so great, wouldn't it? How dare you get out of my sight? She probably wouldn't say anything.
No,
She's a corpse.
busy.
Do you know what's great is quite often people go, so like, what are your intentions with the podcast? And I'm like, well, I mean, you know, if it grew enough, then it would be great to have it as a thing. But if not, then it's something I can just show to, you know, potential employers and be like, here's a body of work.
Yeah.
What if they tune into the DVD movie episode and I'm gonna have to sort this one out?
You stand proudly.
I think I do. Yeah. I stopped censoring them a couple of podcasts ago.
This shows creative ingenuity.
And then you
It
point
does.
to the massive billboard that shows a DVD movie in cinemas now.
This is my legacy, yeah? This came from this podcast, yeah? This birthed this. This wasn't Suicide Squad birth. This was DVD movie birth, yeah.
Well birthed, aged well.
What I think would be hilarious is several scenes of DVDs being removed out from the DVD player and coming out like Vietnam War veterans and just being like,
Yes.
don't go back in there. You don't know what it was like in there.
Yeah.
Or do we make it the world where the little men in the box make it a wonderful place to be on the inside? Is the place on the inside?
They have a fear of going in, but once they're there, it's...
But so did you see Chicken Run 2?
No.
You haven't?
No.
They go into this factory and it seems like the most beautiful place in the world, and then it's really not, and it's sinister. So what if they go in there and it looks like paradise, but then you realise that the little men in the box are starting to work because they need to play this DVD, and as they start to work, it starts to get more harrowing. And then they take the DVD out of the DVD player,
How
and
irritable.
it doesn't have like.
We need to work out the way that...
And we're bringing it back around. Who's on the soundtrack? Or the score?
Oh,
Oh, well then, who would fit the soundtrack for the DVD movie? Who did the Boss Baby? Hans Zimmer?
Yeah.
Why the f*** did Hans Zimmer do the Boss Baby
And Jacob
movie?
Collier, but I didn't want to mention him.
Well, in which case, I bet you Hans Zimmer did one track,
It's
and the
good.
rest is Jacob Collier.
It's a very...
You know the way that the Crown theme is written by Hans Zimmer and the rest of it isn't?
Really? I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah. Well, certainly in the later series.
I don't think we want Hans Zimmer.
I don't think I want Hans Zimmer, no.
Boss Baby.
I think it's Boss Baby 2, Jacob Collier.
Hans Zimmer and Steve Mazzaro.
Why would you waste your
That's
time?
actually
I mean, you'd probably get a decent payday out of it, let's be
Jacob
honest.
Collier is not on it.
No, I think it's number 2, and I doubt. I don't even know if he has
possibly
credits.
2.
Yeah, 3's coming out soon.
Why?
Needs more. But yeah, who are we getting on it from our whole list? You know.
Okay. Am I allowed to include honourable mentions here? Because that widens the scope of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what kind of mood are we trying to strike here? Because Michael Giacchino is very versatile. You know, you've got Batman, and then you've got Up.
None of mine fit. I don't think.
Michael Giacchino also did Spider-Man. The latest Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah, I did, yeah.
Homecoming onwards. The Home trilogy.
The Home
They
trilogy.
were good.
The scores?
No, just
The
the
films? I liked Homecoming. I thought Far From Home was rubbish.
I lost my mind at No Way Home. I watched it.
Have a little joint there. That's what you do.
Wait, which one was that?
It, the final one. The last
So
one.
sad.
Oh,
When Tobey Maguire
yeah.
came back,
That was pretty
I
fun.
shouted yes in the cinema.
lost
Yeah.
my mind.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was so sad, that film. That was a really sad.
Yeah,
I
it
was-
was. Yeah.
I was attached.
I like the catching the other version of
Yeah.
the love interest
And
thing. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Sad to see her go was the main thing. But yeah.
She didn't go.
I mean,
She's still alive.
Well, yeah. But out of the story, it's just she won't be on screen as much. But
Are you gonna watch that? Are you gonna watch that tennis film? I can't remember what it's called.
Wait, is she in the tennis?
She's in. Have you not seen the advert for this?
Amelia listens to the podcast. If you could put the film in.
Do you know I can't remember on it? I'll just write Zendaya tennis film. Your phone doesn't like the word Zendaya. It keeps changing it to Sunday. And if you go back to if you go back to Amelia and say Sunday's tennis film, she'll just think you're having a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, so not Hans Zimmer.
Does Amelia really listen to the podcast?
Yeah.
Shout out Amelia.
Shout out Amelia.
yeah.
Woo!
Woo! We were trying to pick who would score the DVD movie.
None of mine. Alan Menken wouldn't work. Disaster Piece definitely wouldn't
Disaster
work.
Piece is not going to work.
Joe Hizayashi wouldn't
Well,
work.
Disaster Piece might work depending on the direction we take it.
If it's that dark idea of the disc going into and then getting traumatized.
Yeah. It
that
could.
That'd be
Who
pretty
makes fun?
terrifying.
John Powell. Might,
John Powell, yeah, that could work,
might
definitely.
know his history of animation.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy that we're discussing this like this.
This has gone on a considerable length. I'm considering drawing this to a close. Just because
What?
there's not many more elements about the DVD movie that people will want to listen to. I reckon if I look at the graph for this particular episode, the drop-off will be unbelievable.
No, it will.
Do you know what was really sad was when I look at my Spotify statistics.
Now
The number of people who'd started the podcast versus the number of streams was really quite upsetting.
wait, what do you mean?
Well, you have to play the podcast for more than, I think, 60 or 90 seconds to register a stream.
Right.
And the number of listens was a lot higher than the number of streams.
Wait, how? What?
Because people would listen to it and then go, oh, fuck,
Is this guy?
I can't be arsed with this again.
I thought it would
Suck it
change.
off.
Next
It's
time.
probably the people that have had their Spotify and just left it over there and then gone, oh, I don't want to listen to this. But do I really want to get up out of my chair and go and change it? I suppose I'll have to. Come on then. And then they get up and change it.
Well, I'm one of the streams.
Streams. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I
Also
appreciate
a
that.
streamer.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate
But
that.
maybe
guys.
I'll change to a player.
Do you know how much that would? Do you know how much that would f- with me? Every episode you'd played at least 30 seconds of, and you just kept doing that over and over again. Sat at home going, "This is going to ruin his life." I would like to make it clear I don't actually care about the numbers at this moment in time. I'm just
No.
sort of doing some stuff for the crack.
Yeah, but do stream for no longer than 30 seconds.
Do you know I'm going to wrap this up?
All right.
So we've discussed a lot today, and the first half of it was excellent. The second half, we're at 1 hour 50 on the recording. I reckon it's going to be about 1 hour 30 this podcast. But I've had a lot of fun, so thank you two very much for coming on and doing this. I've never had a two-guest episode before, and this has been the perfect way to do it. Mesh two old fan favourites together.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I ran into someone in the street, and they said, "Oh, I've just been listening to the Fincher episode with Will."
No way.
Yeah.
Did you help them back up?
No, I shove them into the road. Because anyone listening needs brain surgery, so you might as well commit. Anyway, I'm going to give everyone a recommendation for the week. If you two want to briefly think of one now, think of a film that you like, that you want to recommend to the people. I'm going to go with... I've got two. First one is Woman at War, which is an Icelandic film about direct action in the environment, seen through the eyes and the actions of one woman who takes matters into her own hands. It's slightly obvious and on the nose at times, but it's really well put together. Quite a moving story with a very strong lead performance, so it's worth a watch. The other one is La Haine, which is a French film. Yeah, Will's big fan.
No, I actually haven't watched it.
Oh, Will's not a big fan. Damn, it's a black and white film, but it's a really, really cleverly put together film, and there's a shot in the middle of it which completely changes the perspective of the entire film, and it's worth watching just for that scene alone. But it's really well written. So those are my two.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazingly shot. It's got compelling characters.
Where is this going?
It's got.
It's the DVD.
It's set in. No, it's not. It's very much live action. It's set in like really picturesque setting. It's got romance. It's got hatred. It's got love. It's got. It doesn't really have much more for it. But I think it's going to be up for Film of the Year, I think, this year. And if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go see it.
Film of the Year.
It's, of course, Saltburn.
Oh, okay. Right.
No. We know he's taking the piss, but the fact that he's taking the piss and didn't say something like
The B movie.
the Emoji Movie is genuinely actually more frustrating than if he'd said something like the B Movie, right? Because I was sitting there waiting for this, this very long spiel, and then you'd be like, it's, Five Nights at Freddy's. And I'm going to have to go, well, you're an idiot, right? Ha, very funny. Roddy said a stupid film. But the fact you've said a sort of semi-stupid film, one that a lot of people like.
Well, then they're semi-stupid.
Yeah, listen, do watch Saltburn, but don't just blindlessly go, oh, I love it, it looks pretty and therefore it's good. Because it does look very nice. It's really well shot. There's a lot about it that I think is stupid.
But I think with Saltburn, a lot of people, they sit down in the cinema, the film starts, and they're like, oh, look, square aspect ratio, nice colour grading, it's so artistic, it's the most amazing film. Yeah. I think that's what I'll say on that. Yeah. I think it...
Here's the question. Why was it square aspect ratio?
Oh, I know this.
Go on.
It's because, and Amelia was explaining this to me, it's so they could fit a floor-to-ceiling shot in without having to have a really wide shot. Right. So they could still have it really focused, but they got the really huge, lavish ceilings in at the same time with all the mosaics. Yeah. There you go.
Interesting. I would have... Well, again, I'm not up for Oscars, so what do I know? But I personally would have tried to make that still happen whilst including a very interesting wide shot. Because to do the whole film like that, I don't know. And the thing is, a lot of the shots are just at the table, and the ceiling's not in them. So for it to be
like entirely like that,
yeah, I think is a bit strong. I would have tried to maybe frame it by having things on either side which direct your focus into a square aspect ratio. Yeah. Big purple road signs that just said like, those brown signs that are like museum this way. There's a prison full of serial killers this way. There's a really dickhead family right in the middle of your screen. Will?
Oh gosh.
Are you on iPlayer? No.
No, I'm on Netflix. Looking at my watch it again category.
Oh, okay. And
I'll go for the Adam Sandler film Hustle.
Oh, okay.
Which I actually quite enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I watched it again recently. I watched it when it first came out. Right. And I actually enjoyed it a lot.
Really?
I rewatched it and I was like, I like this.
You still like it?
Yes.
All right.
I'll stick with it.
Fair enough.
I'll stand by it.
Fair enough. Roddy, you've got music projects and stuff out. Where can people find what you're doing?
It's not out yet, but if you follow me on Nimrod_music on Instagram, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Will, anything in the lineup for life?
I'm existing.
Existing.
Newcastle and Leeds.
I'll tell you what you are doing. Me and Will are going to be producing the DVD movie.
God damn, I've been axed!
Yeah, I think what we've decided is your first big project can be the score for it.
There we go.
I'm 21 this week, which is terrifying. So to celebrate, I'm literally dragging all my friends in Edinburgh up to the cinema, and we're going to watch a film.
Very nice.
That's going to be what I do.
Very nice.
But this is the most fun I've had doing one of these episodes. So thank you very much. And as ever, thank you for downloading the podcast. So bye.